Hello and welcome to another Royal Reviewer live pop-up chat, and today it is Sunday, so I hope you've all had a really amazing, fantastic, lovely weekend. I know I have. So obviously lots of Sunday stories are always kept back a little bit by the media for Sunday, because in the UK it is traditional to have a royal story out on a Sunday. So what I'm going to do today is kind of like a typical pop-up chat formula, but what I'm going to do is kind of have open a page, and I'm going to be kind of flitting between different articles and kind of just discussing and talking about a whole selection of Royal Sunday stories, including, I suppose, one of the main ones that people have been asking me to talk about, which is, of course, that Harry and Meghan Sussex fans have launched a campaign to plant 10,000 trees. Now, already I think we are up to round about 4,000 trees planted, and Harry and Meghan have actually said thank you to their supporters for this. We'll be talking about that in a moment, but before we go any further, I want to find the chat room and let's just see who's about on Sunday. Here we go, it's coming up now. So yes, I do think notifications are going out. We have 66 people already, and that usually goes up. So hello, wherever you are. For some people it's afternoon, some people it's morning, but hello. So if there is anything that you in particular want to talk about, then do of course ask me a question. I can see everyone there. So I'm going to go straight to the main Sussex story today, which is, of course, that they have said thank you using their Instagram. So not an Instagram post, but an Instagram story. They've kind of commented on and said thank you to the supporters. And I do believe out of the 10,000 target of trees to be planted, they have roughly got to round about 4,000 so far. Maybe it was something like 4,020 at the time that Sussex Royal said thank you. So I do believe that they will probably smash that target. I do think, 10,000 trees sounds an awful lot, but I do think with the amount of awareness that's going on, especially with, for example, the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy project. By the way, this is separate, completely separate to the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy. It was launched by fans, by supporters, I believe in Archie's honour. So the campaign was launched, and I do believe it ends on Archie's birthday next year. So I definitely think that in that timescale they will actually smash that target. So trees have been planted in the likes of the Philippines, South Africa and Jamaica. So this is a truly global initiative. They took their Instagram story to say huge thanks to the amazing group of people who have launched the grassroots Sussex Great Forest Initiative. So it's the Sussex Great Forest Initiative. What a special surprise. So explaining the campaign, the Duke and Duchess continued. The aim of this project is to plant, as I said previously, 10,000 trees around the world by donating globally and planting locally. We are so inspired, thank you. And it has literally just been 3 days after it launched. Basically, supporters have managed to plant over 4,010 trees. I think when I looked on the Instagram, it was something like 4,020, but the target has probably gone up since then anyway. And I don't think there were any further details about it, but there is a hashtag. It's hashtag Sussex Great Forest, if you want to follow that hashtag. So perhaps people have already, maybe posted videos or photographs of themselves planting their trees. I do think it's a really good initiative, and of course one that we should be planting more trees. I mean, if everyone just planted maybe one tree in their garden, and if you don't have a garden, I don't know, just plant somewhere locally, then that's going to be millions and millions and millions of trees. So it is a very, very good initiative. I think one contributor said, one supporter said, happy to share my small contribution to this wonderful initiative. You got to help plant 12 trees for your country, the Philippines. 4 trees for Harry, 4 trees for Meghan, and 4 trees for Archie. So that was what one supporter posted. There was other ones from Kenya, basically all over the world. And I do believe they have a Twitter and an Instagram handle as well, I think. So there we have it. A really nice surprise for Harry and Meghan, and they most certainly did appreciate it. Stephanie A. Dory says the tree planting is wonderful. It is indeed. Book Princess says you look very good again. Interested in news about the other roles' engagements. Someone commented about Charles and his New Zealand engagements. I did one video of the Charles and his New Zealand engagements, but YouTube basically shot that video down because it had New Zealand in the title, and I think when New Zealand was going through all what happened with Christchurch, basically I think YouTube made anything to do with New Zealand not advertiser friendly, and I don't think they've taken those blocks off since. So all my videos were having trouble regarding anything to do with New Zealand. So that's why I haven't really posted much about Charles and Camilla in New Zealand, which I really wanted to, because I made the initial video and then wanted to make other ones, but YouTube were making it pretty impossible to put videos out there. So that's the reason why we haven't had many Charles and Camilla New Zealand videos, because anything with New Zealand in the title was, yeah. So I think YouTube need to take the blocks off anything related to New Zealand. I think it's time. Southern Lady says, I love the tiara, thank you. It is the fringe tiara, the one the Queen wore to her wedding. Can you see the sparkle? I think you can. Book Princess says, thanks for the explanation about New Zealand. Yes, it's a fringe tiara. Yes, off with their heads, my goodness. I agree about all the comments about the tree planting. It is amazing. Yes, I think the lighting is making the tiara really sparkle. Let's have a look. Tashmax says, I've made my donation and I'm also planning to plant a tree in honour of the hashtag Sussex Great Forest. Such a great initiative. And as I said, this is completely separate to the Queen's Commonwealth Canopy. So, of course, you know, you can also support that too, basically. Sharon, I'll be talking more about Prince William's collab for the air ambulance and child bereavement later in the week. It hasn't featured, I don't think, in the Sunday stories, so I'm just going to address kind of the Sunday stories at the moment. Right, so I am going to move on to the story that's come out today about Prince. This is a Prince William story, so you're going to get some Prince William story. But again, it's one of those stories where I don't know how much truth is in it. And it's about, well, I'll read the headline. The headline is, Prince William is not a huge fan in quotes, of his uncle Prince Andrew, and helped his father Charles and the Queen make decision to sack him. Well, again, I mean, it hasn't technically been a sacking, but let's move on anyway. And also, Palace insiders claim that the Duke of York hoodwinked his mother over the interview. So, basically what they're saying, what the media's going at now, is that Prince William is now, you know, not in favour of what his uncle has done regarding the interview, and obviously not a huge fan, as it's quoted. And apparently it was alleged that Andrew did tell the Queen that he was going to do the interview and talk about what he spoke about, but didn't go into details about exactly what he was going to say in the interview should he be asked certain questions. And again, it just says Palace insiders, but it doesn't actually say who. And again, I think what we kind of have to take it with a pinch of salt. However, you know, I mean, Harry himself did say that some of these royal stories that have been coming out over the last year and a half, you know, he said that not all of them are true. The majority, he said, are not true, which of course alluded to the fact that some of them might be true. And our problem is we don't know which ones are true, which ones are not true, which ones are partially based in some degree of truth, which have been stretched, which have been made up completely fabricated. This, I'm going to take a stab and say this story is probably more of an assumption story. I mean, obviously, you know, William is going to be the future king, therefore anything it's probably expected that anything that could potentially be damaging to the monarchy, William might not be a big fan of. So I think it's probably a safe assumption to say that William is probably not happy or pleased with what's going on right now, but we don't know to the extent of which he might not be happy or not a huge fan. So we do have to bear that in mind. It could be a completely made up story. It could have an element of truth. It could be completely the truth. I mean, we have to kind of keep a bit of an open mind on it. Let's just see what people are saying. Let me know what you think. What do you think about it? I'm just trying to find a comment. Yes, the Queen should be in Windsor today. I don't think I've seen any pictures of her out riding today. Southern Lady says, if you hoodwink the Queen, why would you go riding? Exactly. I mean, the Queen has shown has shown that she hasn't, ostracised him or anything like that. And I think using the word sacking is quite the wrong kind of word. I mean, he's retired from public life for the foreseeable future. It's not necessarily going to be a forever thing. So so no, I don't think, if the Queen was completely, sacking him and all that kind of thing, I don't think she'd have gone out riding with him recently. Yes, I am going to be doing the unboxing on the weekly vlog. However, the weekly vlog is likely to be posted tomorrow. So it's likely to go premiere tomorrow, which will be Monday. Vanilla Flare Productions says, and I hope she doesn't find any magical foxes like me that are going into hiding. Ooh, whose foxes? Laurie Clark says, I worry about the family's dynamics. I realise they have to protect the firm, and I appreciate their seriousness of it all, but I hope they won't take sides and turn against each other privately. I don't think they will. I think behind the scenes they'll be quite supportive of each other. Yes, I agree. People need to remember that the Queen might be Queen, but she's also a mom. Deb says, what does Prince Andrew's wife think? Well, Prince Andrew doesn't have a wife. He has an ex-wife, Sarah, Duchess of York. And that, again, was one of the stories that was in today. So let me just see if I can pop back and find the actual story. Because I've just got a whole kind of screen open. But it also, that story also included Princess Beatrice. So the story was that Princess Beatrice and Sarah encouraged Andrew to do the interview. And I spoke about this briefly a little while ago because some people had said that they'd heard that Sarah had been against it, and I said that I'd heard that Sarah had been pro the interview because it would give Andrew a chance to express himself, and she thought that people would come around, would believe him once he'd said what he'd got to say. And it's also been revealed that Princess Beatrice helped set up Prince Andrew's Newsnight interview. And it does claim that she's been in tears ever since. I mean, we don't know how true that is. However, I think there was some kind of evidence, at least, for the fact that she had spoken, Princess Beatrice had spoken, had meetings with the Newsnight team. However, initially, it was to talk about her scepticism of the interview, and I think the team around Emily Maitlis, who was the interviewer in that Prince Andrew interview, convinced Beatrice that it would be a good idea. So apparently she was sceptical at the start, came around once she'd had those meetings with the production team, and then obviously has realised that it's been a bit of a disaster since. So again, we don't know if she's been crying or any of that, but in tears ever since. Like it says here, but by the end of the meeting, she was convinced by the Newsnight team and Amanda Maitlis, Amanda Thirsk rather, that they had no choice, that it was the only way to put all the rumours behind them. So it is a bit of a stretch to say that Beatrice was, completely in favour of it. I think she was persuaded at the end, but not exactly maybe enthralled about it right from the beginning. Let's see what people are saying. Yes, Alicia, I've already spoken about the Harry and Meghan with the trees. Um, Tonya says, in other words, he has not been banished. No, no, he's not been banished. It was always a withdrawing from public life for now. Um, this isn't intended to be a permanent thing. I think it's always intended to be until there is some kind of resolve, which, depending on which way the resolve goes, could lead to potentially a permanent removal, withdrawal from royal life. However, if it's resolved satisfactorily to the royal family's leaning, if it was more in their favour, then obviously there would likely be a reintroduction to royal life, royal duties in the foreseeable future. But we don't know which way it's going to take a turn. In that, we do not know. Karine says, I'm hoping that the family would rally around HRH, Harry and Meghan, but that doesn't look like it's happening. We do not know behind the scenes what level of support they are receiving from the family. Alicia says, anyways, I'm just wondering how the royal family is quick to protect Andrew, but not Meghan, who constantly gets attacked for no reason. Again, I would probably say this is a legal situation where there has been accusations made against Andrew. And actually, when you think about it, it was Andrew that rather defended himself in terms of the interview. Yes, I think he had permission from the Queen to do the interview. But again, if you believe the story, the Queen wasn't made completely aware of how perhaps in depth the interview would go. I think she knew that he was going to be speaking about what he was speaking about, but not necessarily about how in depth, how no holds barred that interview would actually be. And of course, Harry and Meghan, although they've taken their own legal action against the press, that is independent of the royal family. That is important to point out. But yes, in terms of allegations made against Harry and Meghan, I don't think they've had allegations made against them that would be criminal, that's classed as being criminal allegations. Does that make sense? Lilith Eve says, do you think Prince Andrew will be speaking to American authorities? Depends, again, like I said in yesterday's video, which way this takes a turn. If the girls and their legal team have enough to make a charge, and a charge is made, one of two things could happen. Andrew could voluntarily offer himself or information, or perhaps there could even be an extradition request made for him to actually go and give it. You know, there are extradition agreements in place between the UK and the US. How that's going to play out, I don't entirely know, but seeing as Andrew in the interview did say that he was at the pizza place, that Beatrice was an alibi, potentially there could be police protection officer reports of his whereabouts for that day. It probably would be a good idea to perhaps offer the information for his whereabouts that he mentioned in the interview, perhaps to the authorities. That would probably be a good idea, I would say. Miss Mistletoe, I love the name, says, it will be interesting to see if there is a York contingent at Christmas in Sandringham this year. Interesting, yes, I agree. It would be very interesting to see. And Tammy agrees, that's what I'm wondering too. Tonya, I completely agree with you. Why were the Duke and Duchess of Sussex even mentioned in the Epstein case? I have no idea. It has nothing relating to Harry and Meghan whatsoever, so I completely agree with you. Christine says, I feel very bad for the Queen's scandals throughout her whole life. Just like anybody, no family is perfect, and of course, if you're a member of the royal family, any transgressions are, of course, you know, public knowledge, rightly or wrongly. Camino says George and Charlotte might make an appearance, and maybe Louis, this Christmas to lighten up the mood. I think we will be seeing a strong display of family unity for those royals that are there on Christmas Day at Sandringham. Sheep may safely graze here says, I do appreciate the way you have manoeuvred around the delicate subjects and remain informative but impartial. Yes, and I will be very open and I will say it again. This is potentially could be develop into a legal case against Andrew. It most certainly is a legal matter in the States. Therefore, if you're talking about it in the public domain, you have to remain, to what I think, you have to remain a certain degree of impartiality, and you have to choose your words very, very carefully, because nobody wants any legal action taken against themselves. So that is very important to remember, and I have no problem in saying that. Vanilla Flair Productions says, I'm telling you, I want to meet the Queen because I want to make her feel happy and relieved when having a conversation with me. Let's hope you get invited to a garden party, and if you do, take me as your +1. Countess Bavaria says, the negativity from the gutter press becomes even clearer regarding Meghan and Harry. Every opportunity seems to be taken to malign them, always linking them with negative things. And that is, of course, partly what their legal action is mentioning. Lilith says, don't get angry with me. I won't, I promise. But as a royalist, I think that Prince Andrew gave a very good interview. You have to understand the specific language that royals use. I think, I spoke about this again yesterday, I think there were certain words, certain phrases that that perhaps he didn't realise would translate badly. It is easy to do, especially when you've got viewers and people from all over the world who may not necessarily get the certain word usage and meaning in the context of the UK, if that makes sense. But yeah, I definitely think he chose words and perhaps phrases that we're just never going to translate very well at all. Stephanie A. Dory says, I think Prince Andrew thinks he could do as he pleases. I think he's been spoiled by his place in the monarchy. He believes he was above scrutiny. And Tonya says, that's why we listen to me, because I'm fair. I try to be as fair as possible. Vanilla Flair Productions says, oh, if I were invited to a garden party, I wouldn't know what to wear. Ooh, definitely colour block. Try and outdo the Queen. PM Smile says, I think Prince Andrew is done for good. Either way, not getting patronages back. And as I said yesterday, it's the charities that I feel sorry for, and I do hope that they won't suffer in all of this. Right, let me just go back to my sort of list of articles, and I want to kind of see if there's any stuff I've missed. Oh yes, there's one here. So there was a poll as well. And a poll of a YouGov in the UK survey of 1,677 people found that 51% want the Duke banned from events, as in public royal events. Also revealed 58% thought the Newsnight interview had damaged the royals. And yeah, that was a survey by YouGov showing what a sample of 1,677 people think. Now again, with any kind of survey, we don't know exactly who was sampled, where they were sampled from, what their political leaning may have been, but usually with a YouGov poll, it is fairly random. So I'm imagining that it's kind of a fairly good representative of what people are thinking at one point in time. 28% of people in the poll said that he should continue being seen with the royal family at such events as Trooping the Colour, where 21% said they were unsure. And I think in the poll most people thought that the interview would have been a bad idea. 72% thought Andrew should make himself available to legal authorities in the US to answer questions relating to what is going on. So again, that is another poll that's been taken. Let's see what people are saying about that. Janine says, but the charities will be affected. I also feel sorry for the girls. Maybe the charities could get almost like a caretaker, a royal patron, whilst everything is being dealt with. Candice Bavaria says, even though I am not keen on Prince Andrew, my least favourite royal, I thoroughly dislike the presumption of guilt before he has been charged. And that most definitely is a very pertinent point to make. You know, in this country, in America, in lots of other countries, democratic countries around the world, you are innocent until proven guilty, regardless of what people's personal opinions are. And this whole thing always drills back to the legalities of it. So yes, I completely agree with you entirely. Daziga says again, what happened with Virginia was said to be committed in the UK. I don't understand why he needs to go to the US. Well, obviously the lawyers representing Virginia and the other girls are based in the US. Alicia says, do you guys think Andrew is going to be charged? And if he was, could he be arrested? If the charge was put, again, like I said, there could be voluntary action by Andrew. He would also potentially be subject to extradition laws and agreements, arrangements made between the UK and the US. I'm just going up the comments just slightly. Right. Let me just see if there was... no, I think diplomatic immunity applies to the Queen, I think. Let me just see if there was anything else on my list that I really wanted to talk about. Oh yes, the Daily Mail did publish a full uncropped picture of the Andrew with his arm around Virginia's waist photo. So up until today, we've only seen cropped versions, but in the Daily Mail they have published the big photo. So I will post the link to you. So if you haven't seen it already and you want to see the uncropped version, I will post that, and I will also post the link in the description to that photo if you're watching on Catch Up. So there is the photo, and it basically just shows a wider view of it. So you can see, for example, the staircase, and you can see some art on the wall, and you can still see that flash of photography that is said to be taken by Jeffrey, but of course we don't entirely know. But I don't think that is still the original photograph. I think it's still, as Andrew said, a photo of a photo of a photo, but at least it is the uncropped one. If you want to go and see that photo, that is there too. Christine says, I heard Prince Charles wants to streamline the working royals to his immediate family. That rumour has persisted for a vast number of years now, but again, we haven't had any confirmation actually by Charles or Clarence House about any intentions for when he would be king. Fall Emblem says, I love your positive energy. Thanks for doing what you do. You are more than welcome. Teresa says, no, it applies to all foreign dignitaries in America. Oh, delegates in America. I'm not sure about the UK then. I will have to look that one up. Claire O'Connor says, Beatrice and Eugenie perhaps could take over the charities of their father. I've heard rumours maybe the Duke of Gloucester might be stepping in for some of them. Janine says, I wouldn't feel that Prince Andrew would be sent to jail. If he is charged and proven, then he would be fined. We don't know. We don't know any legal outcomes. We've not had a charge yet. So, as I've said previously, I think the ball, in terms of there being charges brought, is firmly in the US legal team's court at the moment. Southern Lady says, I bet Andrew's Andrew's daughters are not working royals, so I don't think they can take his patronages. They do a small amount of official duties, but they are not full-time working royals. For example, they will attend garden parties with the Queen. They will be there with the wider family for Trooping the Colour, all that kind of thing, but they are not full-time working royals. Right, and I am going to end today's Sunday chat here. I will say again that I will be editing my weekly vlog later on today, but I will not premiere it until tomorrow. So I will let you know a time that it will be premiered. So if you have enjoyed this video, this update Sunday video, please give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to share on social media, and also do hit that bell so that you know whenever I upload a new video. Also, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. So, from me in Shropshire, mwah to you all, and goodbye.